Hey everybody, this is Peter with Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to be taking a look at Symbaroum Davokar Awakens, the sixth and final episode in the Chronicle of the Throne of Thorns. This is Free League Publishing's one of their flagship games, Symbaroum, and this is a campaign adventure that they began 9 years ago with the very first Chronicle of the Throne of Thorns, and now they are wrapping things up here in 2023, publishing the last book in this series. So today we're going to take the book down to the table. We'll open it up, we'll flip through it a little bit, talk about some of the things that are being made available to game masters and players who are playing in this campaign adventure. And then we'll come back up from the table and I'll give you some thoughts that I've had about this book. All right, everybody, so we're down to the table with Symbaroum Davokar Awakens, the sixth and final episode in the Chronicle of the Throne of Thorns. Let's go ahead and flip the book over and we'll read the back just to get a little bit more understanding of what we're getting with this book. The eternal night has descended on the forest of Davokar. In the sixth and final episode in the Chronicle of the Throne of Thorns, the fate of the world is decided. The darkness that for centuries has been fettered by the roots of the worlds breaks free and spreads in all directions. The living are faced with a seemingly hopeless fight against a never-ending flood of merciless enemies, but is all hope lost? That question remains for you and your friends to answer. Featured content. The adventure Davokar Awakens, where the players are given a chance to impact the fight for the Throne of Thorns and thereby the future of the game world. Maps and descriptions of a dozen adventure locations brimming with tough challenges, colorful characters, mystical treasures, and historical artifacts. Guidelines for journeys in the awakened Davokar, complemented with new event tables and over a dozen pre-made scenes to introduce where you see fit. A chapter on the battle against the darkness with descriptions of both defending and attacking units. New treasure tables, new artifacts, and a customized list of mishaps which can affect uninformed or ill-prepared adventurers. Note that this book requires access to the Symbaroum core rulebook and that it does not come into its own without the Advanced Player's Guide, Game Master's Guide, and Monster Codex. So that is really important. That very last bit, very important for anyone who is just hearing about Symbaroum and wondering if this is the book for them. Stop what you're doing. This is not the book for you. If you are just now hearing about Symbaroum and Free League Publishing's game, then you are going to want to go ahead and get the core rulebook, the Advanced Player's Guide, the Game Master's Guide, and the Monster Codex. So get those items first, and then you're going to want to get this probably being the very last book of Symbaroum that you buy, because this is the end of a 6-part campaign adventure. So if you're just jumping in, I can tell you right now, this is not the book for you. You want to go ahead and get those books that we just mentioned a moment ago. All right, now that we've read the back of the book, let's go ahead and open it up, see what is inside. Start off with our title page. And then we have our table of contents. We can see here that the book itself is broken up into 3 sections: Ambria's Days of Doom, The Voice of the Ancients, and The Throne of Thorns. Over here on the far left, we have a little blurb from the workers of Free League Publishing reflecting on the fact that, again, this is a campaign adventure that began 9 years ago for them with the first book of the Throne of Thorns Chronicles. And now, here we are, 9 years later, with book 6 and the wrapping up of this very long, overarching campaign taking place in the world of Symbaroum. So the world of Symbaroum, for those of you who may have not played in it before, we have done some videos previously on it if you would like to go back and see some of those videos that we've done. But if you don't want to take that time, we go ahead and quickly just say that the humans, the human peoples of the world have traveled from the south to the north years ago, and they were escaping a darkness there, and now here they are in a part of the world, a region of the world just south, right on the border of a large forest named Davokar. And those people have been told for years now, you do not want to awaken what sleeps in and beneath the forest of Davokar. And of course, here we are with the book 6 come out, and it is called Davokar Awakens, so we can see that people have not been listening to what they've been told. But that is what the kind of the scenario is here. At least we have a lot of different factions that are going to be in this game. And again, if you've been playing through the Chronicles of the Throne of Thorns, then you will have come to terms, you will have learned a lot about those different factions. You've probably chosen a faction that you are trying to help either take the Throne of Thorns, or maybe you've decided none of them deserve your help and you're going to take the Throne of Thorns for yourselves. Either way, again, this is the end of an era for Free League Publishing as they wrap up this long campaign adventure, and they talk about that multiple times throughout the book. They even have a little farewell to Davokar at the very end of the book. So this is the table of contents, and we'll do a little bit about each of these sections as we do a quick flip through of the rest of the book. So section 1, Ambria's Days of Doom, is broken up into 4 parts. The very first part is the Game of Power. So let's go ahead and switch on over to there. The Game of Power section of the book is going to be giving the Game Master and the players some reminders about who the differing factions are in the world at this time and what's the current situation that they find themselves in. Now, they do take time to make sure to mention to game masters that your game that you've been running now maybe for a while may differ in what they're telling you here. So it is up to you to then read this and possibly tweak or change a few of the things depending on what has happened at your table throughout this time. But it's a really great idea here for Free League to give you an opening kind of state of the lay of things. Who is who and what faction is maybe in charge, or whose faction is waxing and whose is waning over time. So they give you the major factions here, and then they give you some other factions as well. And so you'll be reading this section as the game master, getting yourself ready to run the game, and you may be making some of this information again available to your players, preparing them to get the game rolling and to make some good informed decisions as they begin the game. The second chapter of the book is Besieged by Darkness, and this specific chapter is all about providing the game master with tools to portray what is happening to the peoples of the world. It specifically begins with some descriptions of groups and units who are doing everything in their power to halt the devastation before shifting focus to then the attackers, the people who are flooding out of, the creatures that are flooding out of Davokar. And then it gives you some information about 3 specific battles that are going to end up taking place and how to utilize those battles to possibly remove some of the factions who are here trying to vie for the Throne of Thorns. Gives you good information for each of those battles. It's a very short section, but it gives you your stat blocks for some of your creatures, and then again descriptions of those battles, so that you as the game master can decide how you want those to play out. It doesn't even tell you exactly where these battles have to take place. It just gives them to you as kind of key scenes for you to use in your game, so that you can have them as an adventure for the players to participate in. After that, we move on to Chapter 3, which is Adventure Introduction. Chapter 3 does a really great job of giving the game master an overview of this adventure itself. So again, adventure introduction, and it's going to give the game master some very nice timetables that they can take a look at to lay out their campaign. This one specifically is giving an approximate time interval for the adventure itself, how many days and on what day certain events are taking place. It's also going to break the book down, or the story down, into 3 acts. So we have Act 1, which is the game opening, what should happen during that portion of the adventure. Act 2, the voice of the ancients and everything that should be taking place then. And then Act 3, the Throne of Thorns. What's the point of that 3rd act and the things that'll be taking place also there. Now, beyond giving the game master a good timeline there, they also go ahead and lay out some of the prearranged events that are written here in the book. And if you want to kind of really put your game on rails and lead your players, if your players are okay with that style of game, they do give you a nice timeline of the events that are taking place and in which order they should take place. Again, they're not saying that you have to do that, but they give it to you anyways, just in case, which I think is a really nice addition for like a game master like myself. I like having it, even if I don't stick with it exactly, having a timeline of the events provided helps me a lot. It gets into also then the motivation of your player characters, whether your players are coming with characters that have been going through the adventure so far, or maybe some of them have had characters who have died. Maybe they're bringing in a brand new character to the game. Talks about how you can get those characters, those new characters, leveled up with experience to the level they need to be in order to play in this final chapter of this adventure. It also gets into the motivations of those player characters. Are they heroes of the living? Are they defenders of the future? Are they peacemakers? Are they trying to bring the factions together in order just to create some peace? Are they obedient servants? Are they focusing on assisting a single faction? Or are they just part of a grudge match? Are they just watching to see what's going to happen as these different factions all come together and fight each other? It also has a really nice section on research, information that, again, if your players have played through the game, they may have learned previously, or if not, then here's some information that you could have them research leading into the game so that they know this, where the factions are, what are some of the things that they're doing, and what is leading them to the inevitable conclusion that is coming in this adventure. So a lot of research that they can be doing there. And that leads us into chapter 4, all about the game opening. So this is the point of the video where we're just going to go ahead and skip through the rest of this book, because starting with chapter 4 all the way through chapter 11 is the actual adventure of the game. So we're not going to want to give away any spoilers for anybody who is playing, but if you're the game master, you can see that starting on page 40 all the way through page 186, so it's 146 pages of this book actually make up the bulk of the adventure. So this is not a short campaign book. And if you've never run any of Symbaroum and you're thinking, man, the Court of the Throne of Thorns sounds like a really cool thing, then you've got 5 other books that you would need to run through before actually running this adventure itself. So there's tons of hours and hours, hundreds of hours probably, of gameplay available if you were to run this adventure campaign. How many hours specifically just for this one, I'm not sure, but it's going to be tons of gameplay that you would have for your players. They do a really great job of laying out each individual chapter to discuss the scenes and the events that should be taking place. The locations get a lot of detail given for each of them. Every chapter has information, again, about the key players, the key characters, NPCs, factions, and how your players can interact with them. But again, we're going to skip through all of that because we don't want to give away any spoilers. But again, let me say, 146-page adventure is quite a hefty adventure. Now, back here on page 186, we do get a little bit of a farewell to Davokar, and the writers at Freely Publishing do give a little bit of information, just saying, you know, we don't think we're done with Symbaroum for sure. We want to keep doing games in this world, but they're probably not going to be taking place in this region, or if they would, maybe somewhere in the past or somewhere further in the future. But they are leaving themselves open to doing just about anything, and they take time to thank everyone who has participated in playing in the world, writing in the world. And you can tell just from the writing that this is an emotional book for them to release. So that is the end of the book when it comes to text. But then at the very end of the book, you do get some maps, some very nice colored maps of locations that are going to be visited during the adventure, as well as some more battle maps showing you some of the other places as well, some of the cities, some of the locales. And then you also have some handouts, letters that might need to be read by the players. You can make some photocopies of these, I am sure. And then that is the entire book. So we did do a very quick jump through the adventure bit because, again, we don't want to be giving any information away for the players who are going to be playing the game. But if you are a game master and you've been running any of this Chronicle of the Throne of Thorns, I'd love to see your comments in the video below, down here below the video. I'd like to know what you're thinking about this this adventure campaign, and are you really looking forward to this last book? Have you already started it? I'd love to hear some of the stories from you and your players if you would like. So yeah, everybody, that is Symbaroum Davokar Awakens. Let's go ahead and come back up from the table. I'll give you some final thoughts on this book. All right, everybody, so we're back up from the table, having done a quick flip through of Davokar Awakens, the final book in the Throne of Thorns campaign arc. And if you are a game master who has been running any of the previous adventures leading up to this, I'd love to hear how excited you are about this book. I'd love to hear some of the stories of what you have run your players through from the previous books, because I'll be completely honest, this is the first taste of Symbaroum that I've ever really had. I've done some reading and reviews of their 5e version of Runes of Symbaroum called Runes of Symbaroum, and this just makes me incredibly excited to possibly maybe run a game of Symbaroum. So I've run a lot of 5e, and I've run some other Free League publishing games. I've run Alien and I've run Vesson, and I really like their material. Everything they do is done with love and detail, and this book is no different. There is so much information here. If you are a game master for this, you're going to be taking a lot of time to reading and understanding these factions, and really having to help your players, I'm sure, because this is no small feat, I don't think, to run this adventure. But my interest is piqued. I think the book looks fantastic. It reads very, very well. And so now I myself am excited to do some more research on the earlier books in this series, as well as just the world of Symbaroum itself. And hopefully sometime in the near future, I'll be running a game in the world of Symbaroum as well. Everybody, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it helped you if you were on the fence whether this was a book for you or if this was a game for you. I hope that it's helped you decide to dive in a little bit more into that, as well as the other games that Free League Publishing is putting out on a regular basis. So everybody, thank you for watching, and until we talk again, keep on playing games.